Hello, I'm Anne Kerr. Welcome to my art studio. Painting rocks to give the effect that they're underneath the surface of the water looks quite complicated. Let me show you how I do it, and it's actually quite simple. Are you ready? Just to let you know that I'm going to be using 100% cotton watercolour paper, and it's £140, and it's the knot surface, which is the middle of the road surface. It's not extra rough and it's not extra smooth, just in the middle. So here we go. Here's a painting I did a while ago, and I'd just like to show you how I painted those stones that are underneath the surface of the water. So let's have a go at that. Here I've already prepared a piece of paper, and I've put on a little bit of masking fluid on some rocks here, because I want those to be protected when I do the wash for the water. And I've drawn some other rocks which are going to be the ones underneath the water. So what I'm going to do first is to wet my paper. I'm not going to paint the whole of the landscape, I'm just going to do the area of the water. So I'll wet my paper, and I've mixed up some washes of ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide in varying degrees of strength of colour. So make that lovely and wet. So let's have some ultramarine at the top, and then we'll have ultramarine mixed with a little bit of transparent red oxide. Add a bit more ultramarine to that, bring that down. Now a little bit stronger, a little bit more of the transparent red oxide. See how it goes over the masking fluid, protecting that, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to strengthen up that warm colour in the front. When your paper's wet, you can do anything you like with it. Once it's dried, or once it's half dry, you just have to leave it alone. I'm just going to go back and strengthen up that top bit of it. Right, now we need to leave that to dry, and then when it's dry I'll come back and remove the masking fluid, then show you how I did the underwater stones. Now going back to this sample painting that I showed you, in a river where you've got water coming down towards the muddy banks, as it gets towards the muddy bank it'll turn brown, picking up the colours of the mud. So that's what I've tried to do here. So there's your water, and it's coming down and picking up the colours of the mud near to the bank. Now the next thing to do is to rub off my masking fluid, so it exposes those little rocks that I didn't want to get covered in the water washes. Wonderful stuff, masking fluid. Love it. You can overdo it sometimes with masking fluid, but there you go. Now with those little rocks, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up some of the colours that I used for the water and for the muddy bits, and I'm just going to sort of what I call dry brush some little bits of texture onto the rocks, because this is not going to be the main part of our painting. It's the rocks under the water that we're interested in. So we'll just put a little bit of dry brushwork on there, and we'll come back and touch those up a bit later on, and then put some shadows underneath them. but that's fine for now. Now, to do the rocks under the water, what you need is a brush that's got artificial hairs, not soft sable hair. That doesn't work. You want a fairly stiff brush that will absorb. So it doesn't really matter what the brush is, providing the bristles are fairly stiff and the water will soak up into the hairs. So I've got a tissue in one hand and my brush in the other, and I'm just going to go here where I've got the outline. I'll just move that up a bit for the camera. That's it. I've got the outline of the little rocks here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work away with my brush so that I loosen the paint where the rocks are, and then I'm going to blot it with my tissue. So here there's a bigger rock, so I'm loosening the paint with my brush and then blotting the paint away so that you're leaving the little rocks exposed underneath the surface. Here's another one up here, a longer, thinner one. Now you must wait until your paint is dry before you do this. Otherwise, if you start putting water onto a painting that's half dry, you'll start getting blooms and runbacks, as we call them. So we have another one here. Here's a long, straight one. And let's have some little ones as well. So just loosen the paint. And one little tip, when you're choosing the colours to paint your river, make sure you don't choose a paint that's staining, like phthalo blue, because if you use a staining paint, then you won't be able to do this. So I'll just do a few more of those. I'll just turn the camera off and do a few more of those, and then we'll come back when I've got a little collection of them here, and we'll carry on. Okay, I've taken out a few more of those little rocks, and I've also added a few darks on the rocks over here, because this is the bit we're interested in. So now I'm going to use exactly the same colours as I had before, and I'm going to put a little bit of shadow underneath the rocks here, where they're sort of, to give it a three-dimensional look. So little bits of shadow underneath here, using the same colours, which is ultramarine blue and transparent red oxide. Bit of a shadow under that one. Now, as the stones go further away from you, the shadows won't be quite as dark. So just water down your paint just a little bit. So just give all your little rocks a three-dimensional look. This is going to be quite a thick rock here, so let's give it a bit of a bigger shadow. There we go. Taper that down. And this one over here. So I say these are all the same colours as I used to paint the picture itself. Ultramarine blue, transparent red oxide. Transparent red oxide, by the way, is almost exactly the same as burnt sienna. It's just that the brand of paints I use, which is Daniel Smith, I prefer the transparent red oxide to the burnt sienna, but they're very, very similar. So if you've got burnt sienna in your box, then that would work perfectly well for this. There we go. Now we just have to wait for those to dry and then we'll finish it off. Okay, this is now dry, so I'm going to go in with, as I said before, exactly the same colours, just the two colours I've used before. And I'm going to put in some darks. Oh. In between the stones. Up and down between the stones. Keep your strokes horizontal because this is under the water, and if you have strokes going the other way like that, you won't give the impression that there's water here. So keep your strokes going horizontally. In between the stones. And as the darkness in the river here gets further away from you, it will become a lighter shade. Dark in the foreground, and as it goes further away, get lighter and lighter. As I said, I'll just turn the camera off when I finish this bit, otherwise you'd be sitting there for ages watching me do this. So I'll come back when I finish this little area. Now with a little bit of the ultramarine blue, I'm just going to put a little hint of the blue over the stones, here and there, just to show that they are actually under the water. And then with the rocks over here, I'm just going to put some shadows underneath those rocks, or some reflections rather, underneath those rocks. And there we have it. So obviously I haven't done the rest of the landscape, but this was just a way to show you how we got this effect of painting stones under the water. And you see those lines on there on the water? I could do that on this one because what I used on here was a piece of white wax crayon. So I could just do that on here. So just put some little lines on the water, just to make it look even more as though it's wet. Don't overdo this because you get carried away doing this, because it's very, very effective. Now the best place to do the lines is actually where it's really, really dark, but that's quite damp at the moment, so if I tried to do that there, it wouldn't come out. But if you wanted to do some in the area where it's really dark, it really does show up. So that's how we got that effect in the river. I hope that's inspired you to have a go at painting rocks under the surface of the water. Quite exciting, really. If you've got a river scene that you're painting or something like that, this is a very easy way to do it. If you'd like more videos like this, then consider clicking that subscribe button. If you've enjoyed this one, then click the little thumbs up button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, there's an artist in everyone. Goodbye for now.